So in this movie, the third in the services tools set of movies, I just wanted to give a couple of little tips for using, well, in particular the electrical services one, but it kind of applies to all of them. Um, let's switch to a layer, and on this layer, I've just got a couple of walls. Here are my two walls and something that might represent a little piece of floor. And I want to go ahead and put a few little electrical symbols in here. Now, with all of these symbols, I would recommend that you have a class that you nominate for these things to go into, because that's going to make it much easier when you want to show the electrical services plan on top of, say, your base plan, and it makes it a bit easier to do a few other things, which you'll see. So let's say we want to start off by placing some power outlets. So we select the tool and come up here, and the default class name, I'm going to set the default class name to electrical spec. Now that means that every one of these objects that I place will go into that class. You can choose to create a new class in this drop down menu, and you can also choose to just have whatever class the electrical services object is using. So that means that you could put it in any class and put different ones in different classes, but my recommendation is that you have a class, and one of the standard Vectorworks classes is electrical-spec, and that's the one I'd recommend you use. So we've got this set up to create a double power outlet with a height above finished floor of 300. So let's click OK and go with that. Now I want to start by placing some here. So I'm going to click once on the wall surface, press the Z key, which is going to zoom me in, and that allows me to rotate this around and place it on the wall. And this is a double power outlet, so we've got little number 2 beside it. So let's place a couple of those on this wall. So again, I click once on the wall, and I can rotate it at this scale, but if I want to zoom in and just be clear that I've got this snapped correctly, and let's put another one over here. This time I'll press Z, and we're going to rotate this around so that it's oriented correctly. Alright, so there are some power outlets. Now the default value on these is 300, but let's say this one needed to be up the wall at 1500, so we'll set that to 1500. And notice that we've got these all set to be to show the 3D value as well. And just for argument's sake, let's say this one had 4 power outlets on it, so we can change the number from 2 to 4. Okay, now how about some lights? So let's click on electrical services again, click on here, we'll set this to light, and we'll just go with surface mounted. Now there's a little bug here that makes this spring back to the first thing that you had selected, so just double check here. We will be fixing that, but just double check that this is what you set it to, surface light, and so we're happy with that, so click OK, and this would just go in the middle of the room. Let's put one of them there and put one of them there. Now you may prefer lights to look a little bit bigger than that. Well, just change the scale factor for them to 2 if that's what you like. And do you want to see a representation in 3D? If you do, that's fine, and that's currently turned on. Height above finished floor, well, let's say there's a 2700 ceiling, so we'll set this to 2700. Now some switches. So we'll click on the tool again, and this time we'll go to light switch, and there's a standard with neon. That'll do us. So we click OK, and actually we need to just choose one here. Let's choose standard and go back to standard with neon. Okay, there we go. Let's say we're going to put this over here, so I'm going to put the cursor there, click, then press the Z key and make sure this gets oriented correctly, which is like that. That gets our little light switch, and I might just move that one along a bit and zoom in here. If we want another one of those, I'll just duplicate it like that. So we've got a couple of light switches. Now notice that all of these are going into the electrical spec class as we've nominated. Now I want to put some wiring in between these switches and those lights. I'm going to use the polyline tool here in this second mode, and I'm going to set the class to electrical spec, and you'll see why in a moment. So I want to go from this one first, so let's go here and just do a slightly curvy line over to this light. Notice that I've got a dashed line there, and then for this one we want to go maybe like that and over to that light there. And the reason that this has come out as a dashed line with no fill is because my electrical spec class is been set up like that. So it's set to user creation, the fill is none, I have a dash style 0.25 and with that particular dash style there. And so that's an easy way for me to get these things working. Alright, so that's really all I want to do as far as this particular drawing is concerned. But let's take a look at this in Sailrite ISO view. So you can see that we've got a representation of all of those symbols in 3D space, which is quite handy if you've got to throw a dimension or something onto one of them. Say in a front view, and you can see that we have our lights there. Their mounting height above finished floor is 2700. I believe that's to the top of the light, which would normally be the ceiling. And you'll see that if we zoom in here and we take the dimension tool and we want to put a dimension from, say, the floor here up to the light, it's going to dimension at 2700. Remember, the dimension for the PowerPoint was to the center, and there we go, that's dimensioning at 300. So that's why we've given it the ability to have these simplified representations in 3D, so you can actually see these things, particularly if you were, say, in a hidden line render, something like that, so that you're actually able to see these things and dimension them. And of course, if you turn off the class in any of the views, if we go to here and we turn off the electrical spec class and make it non-active, then all of the electrical stuff is going to appear or not appear. So hopefully that's given you a few ideas of how you can go about using these symbols.